Hi guys, welcome to my channel ShivaTechHub. So in this session we will be looking at the switch statement in Java. So this is also one more conditional statement, but just that it works in a different way. Okay, so let us try to understand what actually is a switch. So as the name itself indicates, it is used to switch to a particular condition. So switch to a particular condition based on the option provided. So these are a few important words that we need to remember. So particular condition is nothing but here also, as I said, it is a conditional statement. Here we do have multiple conditions. So based on a particular condition, we will switch to that particular option. So that condition is specified in the form of an option provided, and then we will be executing the statement of that particular block that is present under that particular case. So let us try to understand it with a real-time example. So for example, if we are going to a stationery shop, right? So a stationery shop has a series of books, pens, and some other stationery items, eraser, geometry box, etc. Now, out of those items, we only want a specific item for which we went to that particular stationery shop. So for example, in this example, let us take pen as an example, right? So then whenever we ask a shopkeeper that I need a pen, so this is considered as an option, right? So this pen is considered as an option out of the many options that are present in the stationery shop. Now what the shopkeeper does, once we specify the option over here, he will go to that particular section where different types of pens are present, then he will get you what you want, right? So here pen indicates the option, then block of statements execution is nothing but the shopkeeper going to that particular section and getting you the particular option whatever you have specified. So this is how we need to understand the switch statement along with an example. Okay, so let us consider the flow diagram of a switch. So for example, switch is being written using the switch keyword, so let me write it down. So it has a switch statement which is added as a parenthesis, then you will be opening. So here in this switch you can pass any type of value. You can pass integer value, you can pass float value, you can pass character, or you can pass string. Anything, any data type you can pass to this particular switch statement. So once you have switched to that particular statement, then we will be having a series of cases. Cases are nothing but the items that can be, those are the possible values which we can give to this particular option. So you can have case A, case B, case C. So if none of these cases are satisfied, then you will be going to the default case, right? And one more important point is at each and every case, we will be having a break statement at the end, right? Because so once you switch to that particular option, you only need to execute that particular option. I mean, the block that is present in that particular option. You need not execute all these options. So that is why you need to add the break statement. So break and so on. So for all the cases, you need to add the break statement. So now let us try to understand over here. So here you are going to add a switch statement. Then in the switch statement, you are going to pass a particular option. So in this example, I have taken A, B, C as an example, right? So here, for example, I will be passing B as an option, which is a character. Now what it does, it will switch to that particular option and automatically the block that is present under B will be executed. For example, in this case, if I specify A, then this part will be executed. Similarly, if I add C, then this particular block will be executed. If I don't specify any of A, B, and C, then automatically whatever statements that are present over here under default will be executed. So this is how the switch statement works. So let us try to understand it with a flow. So this is what the case is. Case value 1. If it is true, then it will execute the statement 1. So that is what I have specified over here. Then you need to add the break statement. Now my question is, what happens if you don't add the break statement? What will happen is that So you only need to switch to that particular item. You need not execute the blocks of all the items, right? So in order to execute that specific block and get out of the program, you need to specify the break statement or break a keyword, right? So case value one is nothing but if it is true, then it will execute this statement, then it will exit out of the program, right? If it is false, then it will check for the second value, second combination. If it is true, then it will execute. If it is false, so similarly, this process goes on repeating until the different options are being specified. So let us take the example of the stationery shop. So here stationery shop, you are specifying the option as pen, that you need a pen, right? In a stationery shop, you can have a pen, you can have a book, you can have a geometry box, anything, right? You can have a geometry box, anything. So for example, you have specified something which is not present in this particular stationery shop. So for example, instead of pen in stationery shop, you are specifying some fancy item. Okay, so some fancy item which is not present in the stationery shop. Then what will happen? It will check for all these conditions. Since all the conditions are false, then it will execute this particular statement, default statement, that the item, the fancy item which you asked in a stationery shop, it is not present. So by default, it will execute this particular statement. So this is how you need to understand the switch statement in Java. So in the next slide, let us try to understand it in the form of a syntax and programming example. So the same thing. So here I am specifying an option A, which is a character value, right? So this option A will be passed on to the switch statement. So the same, the variable you are passing instead of directly value. You can also pass the directly value, but as a standard practice, we will specify those option in a variable, then you will pass that variable. Now, since here the character you have which you have specified is A, so it will execute this particular block of statements. Okay. So if you specify B over here, so then this block will be executed. If you specify Z, which is not present in A or B, so it doesn't comes under A or B, then automatically this will be executed because this switch statement is accepting only two values. One is A and the other is B. If you specify any value other than the one that is specified under case, then automatically it will execute the default and it will say some, it will print some message. Like it can be any customized message saying that it is an invalid option. Okay. So one more important point which we need to understand is, so we need to understand the difference between the older switch and the newer switch. So in the older switch, so at the end of each and every case block, we will be specifying the break statement, correct? So one possible disadvantage of using this particular older switch is that, for example, if you forgot to add a break statement over here or anywhere. So for example, there are 100 cases like this, and if you forgot to add any break statement, right? So then what will happen? So instead of getting out of the program, it will execute this. Then, for example, if you forgot this, then again it will execute this irrespective of whatever option you have specified. So, for example, the stationery example. Let us take the stationery example. In the stationery, you just asked for a pen. So what shopkeeper does, if you don't add the break statement, he will give pen, book, and some other items along with that. So that is how this is one possible disadvantage. It's not like every time we will be forgetting, but in case if we forgot to add the break statement in any of the block, then automatically it won't execute. I mean, it won't get out of the program. Instead, it executes all the statements instead of executing the single statement, whatever you have specified under option. So that is one possible disadvantage of switch. So that is why from Java 12, we got a enhanced version of switch. So that is what I have mentioned over here. If you forgot to add the break statement, then all the list of items under switch will be executed. So in order to eliminate the disadvantage of adding extra break reserved keyword in switch statement, we can use the lambda type of expression. So this type of expression we call it as lambda type of expression. So this expression. So whenever you are adding a redirection operator between two statements on the left as well as right, so this is what we call it as lambda expression. Lambda expression, right? So for example, case option one, they directly execute the statement which are related to the case option one. So case option two then execute the statements that are related to the statement 2 or option 2. So this is so this looks simpler, right? So we need not add any break statement, so automatically it will switch to that this particular option, then it will execute that particular statement even though if you don't add any break statement. So that is how the new switch example eliminates the possible disadvantage of using the older switch statement that includes adding a break statement. So this is the switch example in Java. Okay, so now we will be looking into the switch example, both the older version as well as the enhanced version of switch. So in this particular example, so first let me take some option. So int option equal to, so for example 1. So I want to give some number, and based on the number we will be switching to that particular number or to that particular option. Then we will try to execute the block that is present in under that particular option. So as I said, like, so first we will be specifying the option, then we will be adding the switch statement, then we will be navigating to that particular option, right? So whatever value you have specified over here, so or else let me do one thing. So let me type it so that we will get habituated to the switch syntax. So here we have switch. So then the next statement is case. So case space integer value. So option is an integer value, right? So for example, 1, what you need to do. So dot 1 println selected. Okay, so this is the option that is selected, and the next statement which you need to add is break. Because so since you have entered 1 as an option over here, so you have assigned 1 to the option variable. Whenever we switch to that particular option, the block that is present under that 1 will be executed. Okay, and the program will be terminated. So it won't be executing the other cases like case 2, case 3, case 4. So let me take some three examples, three cases. So 1, 2, 3 for numbers 1, 2, 3. Okay, same thing I will be printing. So whenever you enter that particular number, so it will be automatically assigned to that variable, right? So I just need to print that option variables. Okay. So now case 3. Dot println option selected, right? So then break. So now if I am not entering any of these 1 or 2 or 3 as an option, then automatically it will go to the default option, right? So you can specify something like invalid option, invalid option selected, right? So this is how it will work. So now let us try to execute it for all the three scenarios. So for example, in this case, I have specified option as 1, right? So it should execute this particular block of statement. So let us check it. Okay, 1 is selected. Now let me change this option value to 2. So it should automatically switch to this particular block of program, right? So Java application 2 selected, right? Similarly 3. So whenever I enter 3, it will automatically go to the third block and it will execute the code that is present under that block, right? Now let me give some value as 10. Okay, it doesn't belong to 1, 2 or 3. So automatically it will come to the invalid option selected. Invalid option selected because it is expecting a value from 1 to 3, but whenever you have entered a value that is other than one which it is expecting, then automatically it will come to the default block and it will execute the code that is present inside that block. Okay, so now that the switch program is working, so let me convert this into enhanced switch, okay, which doesn't have any break statement. So all you need to do is that, right? So let me add the lambda function, then write it up. Okay, so this is how it will work. So this is for enhanced switch. So we did not add this colon statement, right? So now let me remove for this as well. Then add the expression, lambda expression, then the same thing, right? You need not add the break statement, right? Just remove this, then default, the same thing, just add that lambda expression, then write it down. So let me remove this and we can observe how simple it looks when it comes to the, when you compare it with the older switch statement, right? And also you need not add any break statement. It will automatically switch to that particular option and it will terminate the program after executing that particular block. Okay, see, this is how it will work. So let us check if it works as expected, as we have done for the older switch statement. So once selected, so it is not executing. Like when you use the older switch, if you don't write the break statement, it will execute all the three blocks, all the four blocks. But in the enhanced version of switch, if you use this lambda expression, then write the code for that particular case statement, then it will execute only that particular code and it will break out of the program, right? So let me do it for 2 as well. So it should print two options selected. Then same thing, do it for 3, 3 options selected, right? 3 is selected. Then let me give 10 or for example 5. Okay. So it should print as invalid option selected, right? Invalid option selected. Okay. So this is how we will be using switch along with the old syntax and new syntax. So I would definitely recommend you to follow the newer syntax, which is easy and it also does the same operation as that of older switch statement.